Imagine waking up, grabbing your phone, and opening your banking app. Rates are higher. Your paycheck today is bigger than it was a few years ago, and somehow your savings balance still looks almost exactly like zero. You're not the only one. There are people in the U.S. making $80,000 or even $100,000 a year, and they still never see $10,000 sitting in their account at the same time. That quiet thought, "I must be doing something horribly wrong," is way more common than you think. And no, it's not just because everything is more expensive now. Here's the thing. There is another kind of inflation almost nobody talks about. It's not the inflation you see on the news. It's the inflation of your lifestyle. Every raise quietly turns into a slightly nicer apartment, a slightly more expensive car payment, more little upgrades in your cart at the grocery store, more subscriptions you forgot you even had. On the outside, it looks like your life is getting better. On the inside, your savings bucket is still leaking. No matter how much water you pour in, it never gets close to the first 10,000. My name is Dale, and I spend way too much time thinking about money and the weird ways it controls people's lives. Today, I want to show you why lifestyle inflation works like an invisible tax on your freedom, especially on your first $10,000. If this helps you see why your first $10,000 matters more than the next fancy upgrade, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. In the next few minutes, you'll see why most people never hit that first 10K, how it destroys their sleep, their career choices, and even their relationships, and what you can do to finally fix the holes in your bucket before you try to pour in more water. Let's get real about something. Your income is the water coming out of the tap. Lifestyle inflation is the hole at the bottom of the bucket. Most advice online screams about how to increase the tap. Almost nobody shows you where the leak is. Lifestyle inflation, or lifestyle creep, is simple. As your income goes up, your normal quietly upgrades with it. The problem isn't one big luxury purchase. It's the slow, sneaky way your monthly spending creeps up and then hardens into a new baseline. You get a raise, so you tell yourself you deserve a slightly nicer apartment. You start grabbing takeout twice as often because work is stressful and you're tired. You upgrade your phone plan, add another streaming service, say yes to a couple more. It's just $20 apps. Individually, none of these decisions feels life-changing. Together, they rewrite your baseline. You didn't just spend more money once. You built a more expensive version of normal that has to be paid for every single month. That's why lifestyle inflation feels like a tax. Every time your income passes through, it gets charged a fee. You tell yourself you're doing better because the paycheck is bigger. But the invisible toll booth at the gate is taking almost everything before it ever reaches your savings bucket. Here's where it starts to hurt. Most people don't notice this tax until they try to actually save money. That's when they discover the bucket never fills up. Let's put real numbers on this. Imagine you could save $600 a month if you really tried. In a straight line, that gets you to $10,000 in about a year and a half. Not bad. Now imagine you let lifestyle inflation nibble away just $300 of that. A slightly nicer car, a slightly higher rent, a couple of harmless subscriptions. Now you're only saving $300 a month. Suddenly, that $10,000 takes almost 3 years instead of 1.5. Same income, same person, but twice the time stuck close to zero because of small upgrades that felt harmless in the moment. And many people go further than that. They don't just lose $300, their entire raise disappears into lifestyle upgrades. They end up saving almost nothing year after year. Here's where it gets interesting. Living without that first 10K saved isn't just a math problem. It becomes a mental health problem. Without a real buffer, every unexpected bill is a mini crisis. A car repair, a medical bill, a broken appliance. Any one of those can turn a normal month into panic. You start checking your bank app the way some people check the weather forecast before a hurricane. Research shows that money worries are tightly linked to anxiety, sleep problems, and even depression. You don't need a study to feel that. You know how it feels to lie awake running numbers in your head. You know how it feels to walk into work already tired because you spent half the night wondering what happens if you lose that job. That's what life without a $10,000 buffer really is. You're not just living month to month. You're living thought to thought, always one bad week away from a cliff. Think of your savings bucket as a line of breath. Below a certain level, you're underwater. You can pop your head up for a second when you get a good paycheck or a tax refund, but then you sink back down. 10,000 isn't magical, but for a lot of people, it's the first time their head stays above water long enough to actually breathe. Now let's talk about career and walking away money, because this is where lifestyle inflation does some of its most damaging work. If your lifestyle grows as fast as your income, your dependence grows with it. You need every single paycheck to keep the upgraded life going. The nicer car, the bigger place, the trips and weekends out that now feel normal. So when your boss crosses a line, when the company culture turns toxic, when the job that once felt exciting becomes soul-crushing, you feel trapped. On paper, you're earning more than ever. Emotionally, you've never had less power. You can't walk away because the bucket is still empty. The lifestyle you built with your raises is now holding you hostage. This is the part nobody tells you. Your first $10,000 doesn't make you rich. What it gives you is something far more dangerous to any system that relies on your obedience. Options. $10,000 saved can mean several months of basic expenses covered, depending on your cost of living. That's enough to say no to a boss who disrespects you, to leave a job that's ruining your health, to take a calculated risk on a better opportunity instead of clinging to the current one out of fear. Think of that first 10K as a small parachute. You're still jumping from a plane. Life is risky. But without it, you're just hoping gravity takes a day off. With it, you at least have time to steer, to breathe, to decide where you want to land. Money doesn't just affect your sleep and your work. It sits right in the middle of your relationships. If you and your partner are both living inside lifestyle inflation, you're both pouring water into the same leaky bucket. Every time the water level drops, it's tempting to blame the other person. You spend too much. No, you do. The arguments aren't really about the $7 coffee or the new pair of shoes. They're about the terror underneath, the feeling that you are working this hard and still never getting ahead. Maybe you've felt that quiet shame at family gatherings. On paper, you earn well. In reality, you couldn't handle a $1,000 emergency without using a credit card. That gap between how your life looks and how it actually is financially can eat away at your self-respect. It's very hard to build trust in a relationship when neither of you feels safe, and it's very hard to feel safe when your lifestyle is just 1 or 2 missed paychecks away from crumbling. So, what do you actually do about this? Because the answer isn't move to a cabin in the woods or never enjoy anything again. The goal is not to stop the water from coming in. The goal is to fix the leaks in the bucket. Let's go back to numbers for a second. Say your realistic capacity to save, if you really tried, is $400 a month. If you actually protect that number from lifestyle inflation, you hit $10,000 in just a little over 2 years. 2 years might sound long, but think about how fast the last 2 years went by while you stayed stuck near zero. Now imagine you let lifestyle inflation steal half of that. You bump your rent, upgrade your car, add some recurring expenses. Now you're saving only $200 a month. Suddenly, that same $10,000 takes more than 4 years. Same person, same income path, but double the time underwater. This is why small choices matter. Not because skipping one dinner out changes your life, but because you're either creating tape for the holes in your bucket or you're drilling new ones. So how do you protect that $400, or whatever your number is, from lifestyle inflation without living like a monk? First, you make your savings automatic and invisible. You pay your future self before your lifestyle gets a vote. Set up an automatic transfer the day after your paycheck hits. The money moves to a separate savings or investment account you don't touch. Second, you decide in advance your caps for the big categories. Housing, transportation, and food are where lifestyle inflation loves to hide. You might say, no matter how much I earn, I'm not spending more than X% on housing and Y% on my car. Those rules become the tape on the bucket. Third, you slow down upgrades. When you feel the itch for a lifestyle upgrade, wait 30 days. Most impulses fade. The ones that survive a month are usually closer to your real values, not just social comparison or stress. Here's where the story changes. At some point on this journey, something inside you quietly flips. You stop seeing yourself as the person who is always bad with money. You start seeing yourself as the kind of person who keeps money. That identity shift is huge. It changes how you talk to yourself when you're tempted. It changes how you react to unexpected income. Tax refunds, bonuses, raises. Instead of asking, "What can I upgrade?" you start asking, "How much can I keep?" When you finally see 5 digits in your account for the first time, 10,000 sitting there, not needed for next week's bills, your brain rewires a little. You realize you're capable of more than just surviving. You realize you can create a buffer between you and chaos. That buffer doesn't solve every problem, but it changes how you sleep. It changes how you argue. It changes how you show up at work. You're less likely to explode at your partner over something small when you're not secretly terrified of a $500 surprise expense. You're less likely to cling to a toxic job when you know you have a few months of expenses covered. And this is the part nobody tells you. That first $10,000 is less about what you can buy, and more about who you stop being. You stop being the person whose entire life can be wrecked by one bad month. So, let's come back to the title. When rates go up, but your savings don't. You can't control interest rates. You can't control inflation in the broader economy. You can't control layoffs, medical bills, or global events. But you can control how quickly your lifestyle expands every time more money flows into your life. You can decide that, from now on, not every raise automatically upgrades your normal. You can treat lifestyle inflation exactly like what it is, a tax that steals your first $10,000. You already pay enough taxes you can't do anything about. This is the one you can actually fire. Here's what I want you to do after this video. Pick a number, $10,000, $5,000, whatever feels like a real emergency buffer for you. Call it your bucket goal. Then pick a monthly amount you're willing to protect from lifestyle inflation, even if your income changes. Automate that amount. Set a simple cap on housing and car. And give yourself permission to be boring with your lifestyle for a while, so the rest of your life can get a lot more interesting. In the next few months, nothing dramatic will change on the outside. Your friends might not even notice, but inside your bank app, something important will be quietly happening. The water level in your bucket will finally start to rise, and stay there. And once you hit that first $10,000, you'll understand why the people who get ahead don't just make more money. They make different decisions about how much of it they actually keep. If this changed how you think about your financial journey, subscribe for more videos that actually explain how money works in real life. And remember, you don't have to out-earn everyone. You just have to stop letting lifestyle inflation tax away the freedom you haven't even felt yet.